Welcome to the session on Position Your Ideas in a Busy World. I'm Deepak, founder and CEO of Meaning Quotient MQ Learning. So, what are we going to do in this 25 minutes we have together? So, the objectives of today are first, we will learn the modes of positioning ideas based on Aristotle's principles. And then we will analyze a best practice example using these modes of positioning ideas. At the end, you will understand the key points of structuring the story. If you would ask me, how would you walk away after 25 minutes, or what you would walk away with after 25 minutes, I would say you would know how to make a good story, how to position your ideas and make them stick. This is what we have been doing as humans from 2500 years, since 2500 years. So let's learn that art. Before I go further, a very quick information about myself. Who am I? So, after doing my master's in the fields of technology, business, and philosophy, I spent 15 plus years in corporate world working in different consulting companies and also leading L&D for a strategy consulting firm. One of the things I'm really passionate about is to understand what is being human. And positioning ideas is one of the tasks of being human. According to a research by Daniel Pink, leaders spend around 40% of their time convincing or persuading people. Can we use this 40% of time much better? So let's see what we can learn from the ancient wisdom and apply it in the 21st century. The rule number of one, very beautifully put up by Maya Angelou. People will forget what you said, but people will never forget how you made them feel. A lot of time when the word idea come, oh, I have to position my idea, we get everything ready. Okay, do we have all the numbers? Do we have everything what we want to say? What is the message? But we forget about the audience. How do we want them to react? And that was the genius of ancient Greece. Let us go 2500 years ago and see what's happening there. The art of persuasion, the art of positioning ideas is as old as democracy itself. In ancient Greece, when people used to vote, now let me take a step back when I'm talking about people, only 25% of currently eligible population were allowed to vote because women were not allowed to vote and the slaves were not allowed to vote at that time. But still, keeping the story, when people used to vote, they has to hear the sides, two sides of every argument. There are people who are positioning their idea, the leaders positioning their ideas, and wanted people to vote for them. And what happened then? A new class of people developed, a new profession developed. At that time, they called that profession as sophist. These were the people who were making the arguments for leaders to convince the audience or the people. However, that profession over a period of time got a very bad reputation. Why? Because one thing which was missing in that profession was ethics, the ethos. People were positioning an idea, they were just saying what needs to be said, how what people want to hear, but they were not convincing at the deeper and the meaningful level. At the end, people even stopped believing what was being said. And then Aristotle, the philosopher of that time, came out with his book, Rhetoric, in which he mentioned the art of persuasion, the art of positioning ideas. What were the tenets of that art of persuasion? Let's look at them and also look at how we can use them in the 21st century. Let us look into those tenets which Aristotle gave us 2500 years ago and also see how they're applicable in the 21st century. The first tenet, what he said, was when we are positioning the ideas, we need to consider the ethos. Ethos is a Greek word from which the word ethics came. What is ethos? Why? because we want people to say that we are taking the high road, and we give them a deeper meaning and purpose of that idea, why they should connect to us. Not about only about money, but also about the real reason why. And a lot of time we even forget to position that, put that. Sometimes we are just too afraid to talk about it. Sometimes we even think it's a common sense. Why should we even talk about that? I would say go ahead and talk about that. And one of the ways you can do it, how you can do it, is by first establishing a speaker credibility. People should trust you, and only then you can position your idea in the busy world. When John F. Kennedy made that famous speech in 1960s in Berlin, he started the speech by saying, "Ich bin ein Berliner." I am a Berliner. And that connected him with the audience completely. He doesn't need a personal credibility, but he needed a personal connection.
There are some who say that communism is the wave of the future. Let them come to Berlin.
So if you're a credible person, develop a personal connection. If you're not that credible, talk about your personal credibility. And put an ethical appeal, the moral compass, why this thing is important, what is changing with that idea. When Martin Luther King Jr. positioned the idea of civil rights, which might seem so logical for us at this moment, but it was ethical at that point. In his speech, he said, "I have a dream that my children are not judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character."
This will be the day when all of God's children be able to sing with new meaning, "My country, tears of thee. Sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. Land where my fathers died, land of the pilgrim's pride. From every mountainside, let freedom ring. And if America is to be a great nation, this must become true. So let freedom ring."
That was an ethical appeal. And sometimes it's just so obvious, of course. And that's what made people connect to it. Put ethos in the center of your message when you're positioning your idea. The next step, the next tenet is logos, the Greek word from where the word logic came. Logos. With logos, we connect with the rational mind of people. We cannot let it go. And we should not. Because people need numbers, they need to go out and convince other people of the idea. And what helps is logos, the logic. What are we talking about here? We need to give supporting data or evidences for every statement which we are making. A very logical argument which people can follow, especially when your audience is very logical. So just check that audience. For example, Steve Jobs. As Steve Jobs used to position his new product, he used to give some numbers. He used to just put the numbers in the presentation like they never existed, but they stick. Oh, we have sold 1 million plus units. He just positioned it. And that also develops a personal credibility, as we discussed in Ethos, but also develop personal credibility based on logos, logic. And the third most important factor, which Maya Angelou also talked about, is pathos. The word empathy comes from the word pathos, empathy in pathos. Pathos is emotions. Pathos is at some point our feeling, the gut feels which we are having. So when we are making a presentation, or when we are structuring a story, or when we are convincing people by positioning our ideas, we need to clearly indicate what are the emotions we want to evoke and develop that connection and empathize with people. Greeks were excellent in that, especially through their theater. We have these stories where this Greek theater is being used as catharsis, where people watch somebody else's emotions to release their emotions. And these stories were written in a form to really evoke a particular emotion in the people's mind. And we should also do that, or if we can do that with our ideas, just noticing which emotions we want to evoke. We can evoke emotions easiest way is through personal story. I am one of you. Let's become part of it together. Barack Obama, one of the greatest orators we have, whenever he used to make his speeches, he used to talk about his childhood growing in the suburbs, his childhood growing without a father. And that connects us with our own parents, with our own family lineages. And that makes him a part of us. And that's how we start listening to people. And that's why sometimes we start listening to people. We can either do it through a completely relational story, or we can do it using the metaphors. MLK Jr. used to use a lot of metaphors of nature in his speeches. Let's talk about mountains, rivers. And when we can connect that, people understand it more. And that each metaphor evokes a particular emotion. And when we are evoking emotions, one thing we need to be very careful about is what emotion, as we said, we are evoking. Is it hope or fear? As per the research, fear is an easier emotion to evoke, and the action is much faster, but the hope is more or everlasting. I would still want to have a world or live in a world where the messages are around hope. And also, we talk a lot about the sadness or a laughter. Both, maybe sometimes in a particular speech. They say laughter is medicine, and laughter is that medicine which you can incorporate in your storyline. You can just put up a joke or small laugh about yourself. A, with that you will connect with people, and B, you will shift their mind. Some neurons will shift in their mind, and they will start listening to even more because a space get created through that. In that space, you and your audience gets connected. So the Aristotle's three modes of persuasion are ethos, logos, and pathos. Let's see how we can use that in the 21st century. Who better than Steve Jobs to learn from? Let's see what Steve Jobs is up to here.
I'm really excited to be here. We have something really special to share with you today. In total, between iMac and PowerBook lines, we have sold over 3 million units this year. Okay, that's it. Well, maybe there's one more thing. I'm about to show you something that's amazing. Something that no one else in the world has seen yet. Now, Johnny, myself, and a small team have been working really hard on a secret project, which is something I've been known to do from time to time. The device I'm about to introduce to you is going to revolutionize an entire industry. It's a music playing device. Okay, we'll get to that in a minute. Because what it represents is as important as what it is. It's a tool for the heart. And when you can touch someone's heart, that's limitless. If I do say so myself, it's insanely cool. It's a music player. It's 1,000 songs in your pocket. I'd like to introduce you to the iPod.
So this was a speech which Steve Jobs made at the turn of the century. And he indeed revolutionized the world. So let's dissect that speech in our tenets of ethos, logos, and pathos. So what do you think was ethos here? Did he put anything? So if you would ask me, I would say that what he has done is establish a personal credibility. Very well. We have sold 3 million plus units. And he just casually mentioned it. I don't need to be there, but I'm here. Deep personal credibility by using the numbers, by using logos, but also it's a part of ethos. Other thing, we are not here for anything else, but we are talking about revolutionizing the industry. And the industry was not even present in at that point. So a very bold statement, a very big, deeper meaning, or at least his vision of what he's aiming to do. What else do you think? Okay, now let me go to the logos. As Steve Jobs, there has to be logos. 3 million plus units, as we have already discussed. 1,000 plus songs in your pocket. Very clear what we are doing here. Means right now, if we talk about that, it's not that much. But we're talking about 2001, almost 22 years ago. 1,000 plus songs in a pocket. 1,000 plus. So he clearly used the number and the logic there. And what Steve Jobs did brilliantly here is about pathos. Many statements just floating around. Can you spot them? So what I think first is he started with like, I'm very excited to be here. Okay, you also get excited. Building that sense of excitement. I've been used to do secret projects. Oh, just get ready for, okay, what's coming in? So he just evoked that emotion of, oh, I want to know more what you are doing. And then he used the word insanely cool. Of course it is. You know, what we are talking about is cool. If you go out, you are one of the cool people, you have attended this. And then his masterstroke, a tool for the heart. It's not his vision, it's a tool for your heart. It's going to touch your heart on a day-to-day basis. And in a speech, he just evoked so many emotions in us and defined the audience he's targeting at the same time. So he, from my perspective, he brilliantly combined this ethos, logos, and pathos in the speech. And that's what, as per my research, most of the best orators do. The leaders who are able to convince the people. They look into what they're talking about. They connect them with their ethos, revolutionizing the market or revolutionizing the industry. We are very credible to do that. We have already sold so many units. We are going to put this and this numbers. We are going to take up this market. And we are doing it for you so that you can get connected more to your heart. Because if you are doing it, you are the one who's cool. And that's how an idea gets stick. This is considered as one of the best speeches which Steve Jobs did. He did 3 major speeches in his career, and it was one of them. So what we can learn from here now about structuring the story, your idea when you're going to go out and position it. So for me, the first and the most important thing is you define a mix of logos, pathos, and ethos. I would highly recommend having at least a statement for each one of them. If you have already had an idea, just go back and look. Does it have logos, pathos, and ethos? What is about logos, pathos, and ethos? Which is missing? Where it's much more heavy? Where you want to put more focus on? And when you're doing it, think about your audience. and what is your objective? So when you're talking about the audience, let's start with MLK Jr. So the audience of MLK Jr. was more about a cause, something which we should fight for. So he was fighting based on ethos. So his speeches were very heavy on ethos. He has established a personal credibility, but he was talking about the future, the vision he wants people to take through. And his objective with that is people participate in the civil rights. He's able to make the change with change makers, a bottom-up system. So he knew his audience, he knew where he was going to, and then he positioned it. And Steve Jobs did the same thing with a different audience. The audience of Steve Jobs were more technical in nature, who wants to act cool and who are already connected to his vision of changing the world. So he connected more on the logos and pathos with them. Logos because these are logical people. Some of the times when he used to even bring the product, he mostly always used to bring the product, like iPod, which is also a symbol of logos. See, it's here. It's logical. It exists. And he evoked emotions in people. It was not only about technology, it's about what technology is doing. And his audience, as we said, is more technical in nature. So these two works very well for him. And his objective, of course, one is to sell more products. That's what a company is and was about. But also he wants people to participate in his vision. Change the world, see things differently, participate, and ask for even more. And that's how the entire empire is being built. The second thing, check. And check what? There's a very thin line between positioning ideas of persuasion and manipulation. And please take a step back and see, are you positioning your idea or you're manipulating people? There are two questions you can ask for that. So the first question is, what you're talking about, is it true? Means truth is a relative term. But is it true based on your knowledge? Is it true based on the knowledge you have currently? If you are talking about anything false, people will get it. They might not get it at the moment, they might get it, but they will get it later. And other people will get it. To establish and keep that personal credibility, please check, is it true? And the second thing is, do you provide the audience freedom to choose their own truth? Am I free to choose? You can nudge me, but I'm the one who's making the decision. Everyone has a right to come and position their ideas. But the audience should be free to choose. MLK, let this audience choose. Many people didn't participate in civil rights movement who fight it mattered. Not everybody is an Apple product person, and that is also okay. And that's how the competitive world works. People choose. So walk that thin line, go towards the positioning ideas and avoid manipulation. And the last thing I want to say on this is take charge, be bold. And why? When I'm talking about an idea, it's not only an idea, it's an opportunity to make that product known, and more than that, to make myself known. Who am I who's talking about this product or a proposition? Take that opportunity, connect with the people, because if we are not able to do it, people are not going to buy our ideas or proposition. Be bold. And the other thing is prepare a lot. Most of the best speeches, even though they look extempore, they are very well prepared. However, other component of the best speeches is also the paradoxical nature that people dance in the moment. What does that mean is they connect with the audience and go with the flow. And they keep on jumping between the flow and the preparation. Steve Jobs, he's known to prepare very well, but when he's on the stage, he is himself. He sensed the audience. He sensed what needs to be said, what's coming up, and what needs to go back to people. With this, we can structure a story, we can position an idea, and we can convince people in an ethical way. I would end this session with a quote by Ethos: "Persuasion is often more effectual than force." Know and use this art of persuading others. Probably that's the only force you need in this world. Thank you very much.